Yes.
Hey, happy Monday, everybody. It's Carla Webb, Christian life coach, and this is our first episode of the new year of If You Only Knew. And I am so excited that my first guest is Leslie Morgan, and you probably know her from WKDQ radio show.
The Q crew. It changes every time I get a new husband.
The morning, every time you get a new husband. Every time you get a new on-air
new radio husband, the name changes. Right now it's the Q Crew Morning Show with Ryan and Leslie.
Oh, very good. And how many years have you been at WKDQ then?
10.
10
years.
It
was 10 years in September.
So
this is my 11th year.
So they had a big 10-year anniversary party for you.
Huge, big budget.
Big budget.
Red carpet.
Yeah, they're like, everything, big time. So I'm guessing that was a no. No. Okay. Well, I'm excited to have you here. I have been on your show, quite a few times now, and so I thank you so much for all of your support over the years of what I'm trying to do as far as domestic violence awareness and advocacy. And you have been a good friend to the cause, and I appreciate everything, and I appreciate you being here today.
I believed in you the moment that I met you. I mean, it was just like something, it's just the way you were, some of the things that you were saying to me. I think we were talking on a sidewalk on a dark night in the middle of downtown Evansville. It was like, hey.
You're making this sound a lot more seedy than it was.
And then there we were, just two women leaving a party. It was actually a female-oriented, building females up. It was like a meeting and a launch of a magazine, and we met out in the driveway.
And we just started talking.
And I knew then, I'm like, she's something.
Yay, well, thank you.
I want to be connected to her.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you are. I'm glad you decided that. So the whole premise of this, If You Only Knew, first of all, where it came from is from the scripture, John 4:10, whenever Jesus says to the woman at the well, if you only knew who I am and the gift that God has for you, you would ask me for a drink of living water. So that's where the whole idea of that, if you only knew, came from. But then the other part of it is as you know, I do a lot with domestic violence awareness advocacy because I am a survivor myself. And so it is something I'm very passionate about. And it really tied in together that idea of the secrecy behind domestic violence. And it was like that. Well, if you only knew what was going on in my home and the life that I'm living as opposed to the one I'm projecting. So that's how those two came together, the if you only knew. So that's where the questions come from also. All right, so question number 1, Leslie, is if, in regards to relationships, so we're talking specifically about relationships, if you could go back and be your own best friend, what would you tell yourself?
I would probably tell myself because I've been married twice.
Me too.
And the first time I would notice more red flags.
Such as, what would you call a red flag? And you don't have to be too descriptive.
I would just notice those things that would happen and not ignore them. When I say red flags, I mean things that are obvious to everyone around you.
Yes.
That this could be a problem. I was never in a domestic violence type situation, although, we obviously had our issues. And I would just say, notice those. Listen to the people around you that care for you, that know you, and really listen. And then on the other hand of that, because I wasn't in a domestic violence situation, but again, it probably also goes for you too, is to be able to forgive.
Yeah.
You'll never forget some of the things that were done to you. I don't care if it was by anybody. I'm a survivor of sexual abuse as a child. So I know about having to forgive in a situation because it was a family member.
Oh, that's so hard.
And I realized that only through forgiving was I really free of that burden. And so that in a relationship, it's like that too, whatever kind it is, whether it's a marriage or whether it's a relationship you have, with an uncle, a cousin, a boss, whoever it is, boyfriend, girlfriend, you need to just make sure that when you move far enough through it, that you are able to say, I forgive you and I'm done with you.
Yes.
It's when you can't forgive and you're so mad, and then it eats away at your heart, that then it's like, they still have a hold on me.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So I would totally say, just take a deep breath, move past it into the new life that's ahead of you.
Absolutely. Whenever, it isn't, we have that, whenever you have been wronged so deeply on such a personal level, especially when you're talking about a spouse or a family member that you love so deeply and trust them so deeply, and then that's obviously how you get hurt the most, is because it is so deep, and that does take time to work through. And it's also not a one and done.
No,
it's not a one and done. Like one day you wake up and go, okay, I'm done, I forgive you, I move on.
It takes a lot of effort,
and I never think about it again.
It's how you think about it. I think you can either choose to think about it in a negative way that continues to eat away at your very core, or you can choose to, like you have done, or like I have many times done on my show on WKDQ, is to share that with other people, so that we can all learn from each other, and we can all learn how to move through. Like how I learned to move to the other side of my pain may not be the way you were able to do it, but it might be what, Amy can do to move through it, or whatever, so it's sharing, it's being supportive of each other, especially as females. I think it's so vitally important, because we're known to not do that.
Yes.
And we should be doing that.
Yeah.
Because together we're strong and unstoppable.
Yes. Because I think the Me Too movement and Time's Up and everything, it has helped in the past year, women banding together for each other instead of against each other.
I never knew anything other than that. My mom had a group of female friends that constantly would get together. They'd share their best times. They'd share their worst times. They'd get advice from each other. They'd babysit each other's kids. And I only experienced that lifting women up. And if one had to go to a meeting, or one had a class, because some of them were going to college while they were married and having kids, they helped each other out, and they supported, and they went to their graduations. And then if a child got in trouble, they were there to hold your hand. I never knew anything else. So then moving to Evansville and meeting people like you and other females in the community, I didn't know any other way to be. And so I feel fortunate.
I'm great. That's great that you had such a wonderful experience.
My mother was a fantastic role model.
Oh, that's great. Well, I'm the youngest of 3 girls, and our family was a lot like that. Wasn't sibling rivalry. So I can relate to that also. Yeah. All right. Second question.
Okay.
Ooh, yeah. Deep breath in. What is a truth?
Oh, no.
Yes. What is a truth?
I don't tell the truth most of the time on the air. It's a joke. It's entertainment. Oh, no.
What is a truth that God has revealed to you about yourself? What is a truth that God has revealed to you about yourself? And those of you who are watching, Amy, Liza, Gary, Annette, Amy, hey there, nice to see you. I would love to hear your responses to this also. So this isn't just us answering these questions. I'd love for you to answer the questions along with us. So what's a truth that God has revealed to you about yourself? Or what is a piece of advice that you would go back, and if you could go back and be your own best friend, what would you tell yourself? I'd like to hear from you. All right, but now we're putting Leslie back on the spot.
Okay, so is it like a positive? Like a positive truth that he revealed to me? Because I feel like he's revealed so much to me.
Any truth that you want to share, positive or negative, whatever your experience is.
I have found that throughout my life, every time I would be in a situation, whether it be when I was a teenager or a young mother or now an old grandma, that I'm like, when I go to mass, it's like the priest is always talking to me.
It's like, all about you.
Whatever I'm going through, it's like, is there a bug in here? Is my house bugged?
Are you on diary?
Oh my gosh, are you in my mind? And then you realize that that's God talking through the situation that I need. And I've always been a very spiritual person, and I always tried to look for those signs in my life that led me places. And also, one of the great truths I think that God revealed to me was realizing that bad things are going to happen in your life. and that you're going to be able to move forward and learn from that. So the worst possible thing could happen right now. And then you're able to look back in hindsight every single time, every time. This is a 100%. Most things are 100%. This is that you're able to look back and say, that's why that happened.
Yeah.
You know, looking back at why did my marriage fall apart? Well, I had to face those things myself and what my contribution was and what his contribution was. I had to figure out why the worst possible thing could happen. I didn't want that. Like I didn't want that for my kids. Like, why is this happening? Why is this happening? And then why couldn't I get a job here? Why did I have to move to Tennessee? And why did I go here and point here and here and here? The same reason we're together right here, right now.
Yeah.
What brought me to that meeting that night brought you for a different reason, but yet that was a good thing that then brought two people together who connected.
Yeah.
Just like a bad thing that can happen, you can look back and it moved you to a better place every single time.
Absolutely. If you allow it.
If you allow it.
If you allow
There's the truth that has to be revealed to you.
Yes.
If you believe it, and if you're able to look back honestly, that's also key. Honestly, then you will be able to say, I'm better now than I was then. And that's why that happened. It had to happen that way.
Oh, yeah. Well, whenever I went through my divorce, I mean, it was gut wrenching. I mean, it was terrible. And then on top of that, Leslie, I don't know if you know this, and I don't know if a lot of people in my audience know this, but then I had an affair that became public.
I did not.
It is, I know, scandalous. We're being truthful here.
That's true.
But that is what, I mean, my life shattered until I was a worship minister, and the pastor and I had an affair. And so then it became literally was announced from the pulpit.
Yeah.
Imagine your deepest, darkest secret being announced publicly. Well, I've lived through that and experienced it. So here I am going through this horrible divorce. Then I make this horrible decision. And I just found myself shattered into a million pieces, thinking, how in the world am I ever going to be put back together again? And that was the one thing that whenever I got on my face before God, I said, teach me everything I need to know. Teach me all the lessons that I need to know so that I never have to go through this again. Because they were both bad situations, and both situations where I could blame the other person. I could say, my ex-husband did this to me and he was abusive to me. And I could say the pastor was predatory. I was extremely vulnerable. And I could totally put that on him and say, he did this to me and he pursued me or preyed on me. And I had to say, okay, I was in both of these situations, and who's the common denominator? That would be me. I was the common denominator no matter what. Even if that meant that why was I such a vulnerable person? Why was I such a vulnerable target then to even be in these two situations? So the key is saying, what is the lesson that I need to learn? How did I contribute to this? And how can I get on the other side of it and grow and apply and be a better person for it?
And I believe that he knows we're going to stumble. We're human. We are going to do that. You're going to make mistakes. You're not perfect. And so when you do that and you're able to honestly look at yourself in the mirror and say, what was my contribution to this situation? What did I do that led me here? You can forgive yourself, which goes back to the first thing I said. And then you can forgive the person that you were with or that the situation was surrounding. And then later on, when you look back, you realize that you had to go through that to learn a lesson. Your soul had to evolve.
Yes.
I really firmly believe that. Many things happened in my life, I feel like, that led me to be the mother I am today.
Yes.
It could even the sexual abuse that happened. I was much more honest with my kids about this is what happened to me. I'm not perfect. I have done a lot of bad things when I was younger, trying to deal with my own issues. And I wanted them to know that. I wanted them to know they could come and talk to me.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be the perfect mother. I love my mother so much. She was a great role model, but in my eyes, she was perfect. I couldn't go to her with the things that happened to me.
Right.
Because then that would make me not perfect. I wanted my kids to know, you don't have to be perfect. You only learn through your mistakes.
Absolutely. Hey, absolutely. This is so good. So anything else you want to add to this or?
Oh, Evie, I know Evie.
Yeah, hi, Evie and Annette. Yes, Annette, forgive, heal, and move.
That's
move
true.
on. Absolutely.
That's true.
Hi, Evie. Yay. Well, we appreciate you taking your time to tune in to us and hear our ramblings, and hopefully it was something, hopefully learn from it. And that's the whole point of this, is that, we're just, each week, two human beings discussing what we've learned along the way in the hardest areas of our life, which is usually relationships and our walk with God. And I just appreciate you coming on so much. I appreciate the friend that you have been to me and my cause of awareness and advocacy. And
it's important for us to share.
Yes.
It really is.
Yes.
And your willingness that I saw right in the beginning, and this was before any of this took place. It was before you had the decal on your car or anything like that. It was just you and the pain that you had endured, what you had been through, and how you wanted to bring something good out of that is what she's done. So she's made herself accessible. She's here to help, and I support her 100%. Any female who's willing to go out on a limb and be completely honest about who they are and what they have done and how they moved forward, so that we can all learn together how to do that, because it's so important. Again, we are only strong when we're together, right, Evie? Right, Annette?
That's
Who
right.
else? Gary, he's there too. I
Yes.
saw him. Gary, come on.
That's right, Gary.
We don't care. We don't care.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I love you so much. And I thank you all for tuning in. And hey, if you gleaned anything from this and you felt like this was helpful, will you please share it? Will you please let your friends and family know about it? And maybe it's something they need to hear also. So thank you guys. Happy Monday. Know that God loves you. Know that I love you. And you have a great day. Mwah. All right. Can you hit the end for me? And I'll get this one over here.